I will give you 5 seconds when I'm ready. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Welcome, welcome very, very much to Conversation. It's a distinct pleasure for me to introduce to you Ashraf Ramelah, and he's the president and the founder of an organizational attempt, a human rights organization called the Voice of the Copts. And he's very interesting. He's an architect by training, and he's got a very interesting story and illumination of very important events in the world. And Ashraf, welcome so very, very much to Conversations.
Harold, thank you so much to invite me to be in your show. I am so honored, and I hope that together we could explain what we are doing to your spectators.
Oh, okay, fine. Well, that's good, yeah. I was just going to say to make sure. Okay, I wonder, maybe we kick it off. You're an architect. You're an architect and you have professional training, but you've also taken up this issue of the Copts in Egypt and other parts of the world. But could you share your own background? Born and raised, a little of the education, and then let's get into the discussion of the situation regarding these people of Egypt and other Middle Eastern areas particularly, but the plight of some of them and their story, because it's a very interesting one that I think everyone would be interested in. And so if you could share your own background and then into that.
I will try to make it, little short, because otherwise we don't have a lot of time for it.
Yeah.
I was born in Cairo in Egypt, and at the age, I could say 16, 17, for some reason I was feeling uncomfortable to be in Egypt.
Oh.
I, at that period of time, was back in 67 after the 5 hours war between Egypt and between the Arab countries and Israel.
Mm-hmm.
And something hit me big time at the time, that whatever all the people working in the street at that time, they were saying that the Egyptian army will go to Israel, they kill all the Jews, and they're coming back to kill all the Christians of Egypt. Very interesting feeling at this moment, like a kid 15, 16 years old, hearing these rumors in the street of Cairo.
Uh-huh.
I finished my high school. I went to an Italian institute called Leonardo da Vinci architecture study, but my plan was to leave to the country.
Mm-hmm.
Since that I was young, I have to do a lot of maneuvering to leave the country. My father especially was against my leaving Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
I had the opportunity to leave with one-way ticket to Rome and $30 in my pocket.
Yeah. $30 whole dollars. What'd you do with all that money?
A lot of money.
Yeah.
So I start my life in Italy. I mean, I remember the first job that I did was kind of busboy in the motels, and sleeping there, eating there.
Which town were you in?
Rome.
In Rome itself,
Italy.
Yeah, okay.
I was able to register in the university in the architecture. I spend my time between working and studying, Usually I work more in summertime because I don't have courses. I got my PhD after I finished my study, and I was just going with all this interesting things, young architect, get married, and normal lives that for anybody.
What language were you studying in? Was it
in Italy,
Arabic?
I was studying in Italian.
You know Italian from living in Egypt, or
no? I started studying Italian in the Leonardo da Vinci, but technically when I arrived to Rome, aside of buongiorno, buonasera, I didn't have really a lot of.
So you just picked it up on the fly, as they say. Good. Okay. Yeah.
And then I start to, technically I could say the only relation that I had at that time in Egypt was just talking with my parents and my sisters and my brother there. Came to United States, and for some reason, I start to look around, and I start to analyze that there is kind of infiltration of Islamists in Western Europe, in Europe in general, and in United States. And was something was kind of bothering me, because growing up in this atmosphere that you feel like oppressed and kind of underestimated, because you are not part of the elite, that they are the Muslims, that they are.
Where were they the elite? In Egypt?
Yeah, in Egypt.
Or in that part of the
Right.
world, yeah.
So around 2002, 2003, I start to get interested in reading about Islam and the mentality of Muslims, and for what reason there is a lot of Muslim moving from Arab countries in general and heading towards Europe and the United States.
Okay, okay. Did you try to understand what the underlying factors that caused that to happen?
We go to this 1 second later.
Yeah,
so
okay,
I start to read. I could say I read between 200 and 300 books written in Arabic, written by Muslim scholars.
Are you still more comfortable in Arabic or in Russian, or Italian or English or what?
I could
how many
say
languages can you deal with?
I speak 3 languages.
Three. Those three, I
read
presume.
3 languages,
Yeah.
and I write. I mean, I don't write in Arabic anymore, but I mean, I could understand it very well, reading, and if somebody speak to me.
Yeah.
I consider my first language as Italian. I express myself better in it, and I mean, it is a beautiful language.
Yeah, it is, and it's one of expression.
Right,
right.
Also with the hands and all this.
Right.
Then in about 2008, I decided to establish this Voice of the Copts. My first goal was really speaking up for those that they cannot speak in their own homeland. And
what were your own, if we want to say, religious rootings or basis of your religious understanding yourself personally or in general terms? You had Arab, you had Muslim, you had Christianity, you had Copts.
I was born as a Coptic Orthodox. It is a Christian faith. The Coptic Church is one of the 5.
Thank you. That's something. Let's share that with the audience, because I'm sure most of the people are probably not aware that what you're talking about is an element of Christianity in the
I mean, the church
heart of Egypt.
Yeah, we have the Church of Alexandria, the Church of Rome, the Church of Palestine, the Church of Constantinople, and the Church of Antioch. These are the 5 churches that Christianity started with them.
Wow. Okay. Could you do it again?
Okay.
No, really.
Alexandria.
Yeah, that's up in the old. Yeah.
Rome.
Right. True.
Palestine.
Palestine. Yeah.
Constantinople.
Yeah.
And Antioch.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Okay.
So in Egypt, some Mark, the one that he wrote the Gospel of Mark, came to Egypt in 68 AD.
Wow. Okay.
And slowly, Egyptian embrace this religion.
It's a Christian.
It's Christian religion. Yeah. Right. With the years going down the year, I mean, 200, 300, they start to have detachment, they start to have heresies between them, start a political issue between the various churches, so the Egyptian church detached from the other church and became Orthodox church. One thing important, why Christian of Egypt, they are called Copts.
Yeah.
They are called Copts because when Arab Muslims invade Egypt in 640-42, they were not able to pronounce the word Egyptus, that's the original name, the Greek name of Egypt.
Okay.
So they moved the first E and the last S, and they call Copt. And in Arabic it's pronounced Copt, Qibti. So the Egyptian Christian that they were living in that period of time, they went through various discrimination and various persecution and various killing, because Muslim, when occupied Egypt, they give them three opportunity: or you convert to Islam, or you pay jizya. The jizya is high taxes for non-Muslims.
Oh, okay. I'm not familiar. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or, and the last one, if you stay, or they will kill you. So Christian of Egypt have three
Strikes
choices.
against it? Or no, choices, yeah.
Three choices. Or to be killed because they don't want to change their religion, or they became Muslim, so they leave Christianity and they embrace Islam, or they pay high taxes.
Okay, yeah.
So technically speaking, the 23 million Copts that living in Egypt, that I am one of them, we are the real inheritors of the ancient Egyptians.
Yeah, I heard you say back to 660 or something,
Right,
or way
right,
back at the
right,
beginning.
right, right.
Mark, somebody,
Some
one
Mark,
of the
yeah,
Mark,
some Mark.
was associated with it in
Right,
that
right.
early
But-
time of, almost within the time of Jesus.
That's correct.
Almost, from
right.
the beginning,
So
yeah.
technically, the Egyptians
yeah.
that they were in Egypt before that became Christian, they became Christian, and we are the sons and daughter of those who pay high taxes, and they didn't want to change their religion.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
So,
yeah.
for this,
And that's what the voice of the Copts. You're trying to give voice to their plight or
That's
their
correct.
situation
That's correct,
as
because-
an example that the world should be
right.
familiar with.
The sad thing about all this, that for 1500 years, Copts are suffering Islamic influence and Islamic supremacies and Islamic persecution.
Was it all suffering? Was there any blending? Was there any
There was
camaraderie between them?
there were sometimes depend on
the
the
local
rulers,
leader, yeah,
right?
yeah.
I could say the best time that the Christian of Egypt, not only the Christian of Egypt, also Muslim of Egypt, were living in democracy and living in harmony. And the time of once the Ottomanic emperor fell and Egyptian decided to have Muhammad Ali, that he was the Muslim from Turkey, to become the king of Egypt. And I could say that he was the one that in Turkey they call him Ataturk, that he created the new Turkey. He was creating the new Egypt with a lot of democracy. Christian Egypt, they became prime ministers and the president of the parliament. Never happened after the coup of 1952.
Wow, yeah. Where were you at that time? When that was taking place in 1952?
I was just about 3 years old.
Well, did you join the cause, or what was your stand at that time, young man?
At 3 years old, I couldn't stand anything. I can't stand anything. But I could say, growing up in that era of Nasser, all the young kids were brainwashed with all this beautiful country that the Arab usually are very good in speaking, very nice, but they are not able to transfer this speak to real fact. Democracy is beautiful when they speak in front of foreigner journalists, when they speak with another president, that we live in democracy. But what is the democracy there? You cannot pray in a church, you cannot pray in your home. If you are not a Muslim, you get arrested. So what kind of democracy we are living?
Does it change in various parts of the world? There are Muslims in different parts of the world. Do they have national leanings or learning from national roots that are part of their background, so that you have diversity within the areas that are called people of the Muslim faith?
I understand your question. Yeah, I understand.
Variety.
The variety is there is various sects in Islam, but the two famous that known to the world more than anything else it is the Shia that they are in Iran, and the Sunni that they are the majority, and the headquarter of the Sunni is Al-Azhar Institute in Egypt, in Cairo. Al-Azhar, the Al-Azhar started back in, I could say, 1000, year 1000, and was just a mosque, and they start to create kind of an institution there to teach Quran, to teach hadiths, to teach Islamic doctrine. And with the power of because Egypt is the center of, technically center of the world, and they start to spread Islam and all the doctrine of Islam around the world, going to west toward this Morocco and Europe, and east towards Pakistan, India, and New Zealand.
You said, okay, Egypt was the center of the world, did you say? I mean, of that world. Yeah?
Well, Egypt is the center of the world as the ancient Egyptians, to be honest with you.
Okay, yeah, right.
But also is the center of Islamic world.
Could I ask you a little sidebars, I would say? Did you practice in your growing up your architectural vocation?
Well, yeah.
You got you got to have a PhD degree.
Yeah, I had
in architecture.
Yeah, and my specialization is the restoration of old monument, because I was interested in this.
Thank you, and your colleagues, for saving so many of those. You've been to Sabrata and so forth in Egypt. In Libya. I've been in Libya quite a bit.
Yeah.
And they're beautiful remnants of the ancient time. Yeah.
It was very interesting, because in order to do any kind of restoration project, you have to go really deep and study it and understand.
I suppose so. Yeah.
The era, for what reason the thing is was then, and that all the technology that you then, and you are not allowed to damage anything.
Yeah, right. It has to be carefully done. So do you still practice that?
No, not anymore.
Not anymore.
No,
you've become involved with this educational effort of letting people know about the situation of the Copts. Well, maybe you could share. You got an institution or something, and it's called what is it? The Voice of the Egyptian Christian Minority is on your card.
Right.
And that's what you're trying to bring to the knowledge of the people of the world, beyond those who are familiar with it, and understand it in terms that can be understood by the broader world, as well as the people who are part of that organization itself, the Copts, of that you're letting the world know about.
Yeah. Well, the problem that I had mentally, and before that I start this organization, that being an Italian citizen and living in Italy for various years, I realized what freedom is mean, and what liberty is mean, and what personal expression and important to human being.
Do you think that's to be understood in Rome more easily than in Egypt?
There is no comparison.
No, I was trying to make that point. I guess
there is no comparison. I mean, I can't make. I mean, in order to make a comparison, that you guys here in America say apple to apple, orange to orange. You can't make comparison between apple and orange.
Okay.
I mean, I noticed that, for example, people in Egypt, they can't live. I mean, everything is unknown.
Everything
also
is what?
Is known to the government. Everybody is under control. And I tell you a funny story, that I was trying to contact one of the bishop in Cairo one time, and I prefer to speak in broken English than speak in Arabic, because also I have a little bit of complex with the Arab, because I believe that Arabic is the language of the invaders that invade my country. So I called him a couple of times, and the telephone was shut completely. I couldn't.
Was it your telephone or the old telephone system?
His telephone was shut down. Once I started to speak with him in English, the line was cut off. So finally,
by some technical something, not by censorship. or what do you think?
Well, I will tell you what I'm
yeah.
thinking, what happened.
Yeah.
The third time that I call him, I told him, listen, I think that the person that he listening to our conversation, he doesn't understand English. And I start to speak with him in Arabic, and the line will never shut down.
I'm not sure. What does that tell us? I don't quite know.
That they listening to all phone conversations.
Why would they be doing that? What motivates that? That's a mark of what is called paranoia in psychological terms.
Well, they have to have control in everything, and they are not. I mean, I remember when I was a student in Rome, all the letters coming from my parents to me, or my letter going to them was open, official was open, and there is a seal saying opened by intelligence.
Well, I'm a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant WASP, so I don't know about that, but I know in times of war and of immediate danger, there does come to be invasions of privacy in the name of national security. Is this what would be the reason for their invading your privacy or caring? Or they don't have leave well enough alone attitude enough to let the people be themselves? Or what's the source of the paranoia, if that's what it is, in your estimation?
Well, I can't speak for them because I never been.
No, I'm just asking you to make a guess.
I think it is paranoia because, especially for a student that they go out of Egypt, the government usually it is concerned that they get recruited by foreign country and they became a spy.
Why is there all this spying going on in the world, do you think? Because it happens not only in Egypt or not only for the Copts, it happens in many, many places in the world. What is the source of the paranoia of people who are in control or in power, one would say, of the authority figures and their institutions in the world? Is it unique to in Egypt only? Or is it something that occurs in other places? And how do we deal with that as a human development?
I believe spying is part of our life for long time, because I believe that the human being is always try to have priority and try to be in control of other human being. And the only way to achieve that is
to be powerful yourself.
To understand what next door to you what is doing. Because if this person next door to you, for example, doing something that could be interesting to you, you may kill him to take it, or to buy it from him, or to steal it from him.
There's a big difference from buying and killing, isn't there?
And the stealing too.
You could have an exchange of recipes for beef stew or something really, really good, or human things like that.
It's a human.
Why is there these animosities between advancing out a little bit beyond? I know your thing is your interest is the Copt, voice of the Copts, but why does this exist? What's the source of? That's called paranoia in psychological terms. They're paranoid about danger. Or what is it that motivates that? Insecurity on their part psychologically or economically or something? But what do you think is the cause of the troubles that arise between the power claims of the various people that make up society?
Well, let me reverse your question.
Okay.
And I would like to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Now, about 17, 18 years ago, we're going to remember it in a few days.
Yeah.
The September 11, right? 3,000 people died, right? It is very interesting to see how the American government immediately after September 11 came out with certain laws that they could tap your telephone, they tap your computer, they tap this, they tap this. Now,
those are all marks of paranoia.
Right.
Yeah.
So the same
perceiving of danger rather than being not needing to be perceived of danger because the danger perhaps is not existing in a meadow somewhere where the system works well. Everybody has food, everybody has water, everybody's capable, everybody's singing hallelujah at they're in good order. You won't have to be worried. Is it material realities that do that create the paranoia or animosity between various groups?
Your word paranoia is kind for me, it
It's
is
psychological,
shallow. It's
yeah.
shallow and psychological
Okay,
for sure.
yeah, yeah.
But I believe could be an excuse that certain people take advantage of it to control more people, to take your freedom away.
Why would somebody want to take somebody's freedom away? Then I just keep backing up. What is the cause of that on the part of the people who want to take it away, as well as the people that are suffering by the effects of it?
I mean, I think but you and me were not interested to know what's the third person doing around us, so we are not interested to spy on him. But if for any reason we have some interest to have control over certain people in one way or another, so you have to start to bug them, you have to start to send somebody of your friend to stay with them and come with the information to you. I believe it is just kind of human control issue, or for other goal that we don't know really, because were not there.
Yeah, there's a way of thinking. It's called materialism, and they think that the major reasons for the distinction between the various classes and the status of the people who are living in society that have emerged in various parts of the world, that it's really essentially economic. Essentially. Or what would it be if people had what they need, reasonably want, everyone did, it would be no need to be paranoid.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Or
so it's an inadequacy of providing additional elemental sense of purpose or activity to the people of the world, which might redound to the lack of vision by the leaders of the world, claiming to be the leaders, and that kind of a thing. Is there any surcease from that?
It could be also because people are greedy, so the person that he have $1,000, he has to have 10,000. The one that he have 10,000, he wanted to be $1 million, so it became kind of greedy situation to have slaves that they are not able to think and able to produce for themselves.
Yeah.
So you control them by the things.
Okay,
here.
we've had periods of slavery. I think the Egyptian pyramids were built by slaves, I think. Did you ever see the size of those big stones they had to pull off a hot desert?
I was inside of them.
No, I mean, no, you're inside of that, but the people had to do it. And the slavery was deemed necessary for the people in the big house on the hill with the garden and everything, that for it's called zero sum in terms of manifesting, that for some to be living well, and by well might be just what's called middle class in some things.
That's correct.
To be living that way, somebody else has to be poor. There's not enough. There's a scarcity. And for getting scarcity, if you're a hunter, you want to take care of your lady and the people in your cave, and that kind of thing is based upon a sense of insecurity and scarcity that is inherent in the natural order, and also in the sociological and political order that's evolved, because that was the reality.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
So the reality is inadequate for people to be secure in the situation that is existent.
Right. And I would like
that might be a historical problem.
Yeah. I would like to take your reality situation going back to our brothers and sisters that they living in Egypt that we are speaking.
Oh yes, okay, sorry. Yeah.
No.
I'm sorry. My mind goes strange.
I understand. Yeah. And just to inform you that we started about a couple of years ago a new project for Voice of the Copts to help this Christian that they escaped from Egypt.
Yeah.
And we are able to secure a building about 15 miles from Rome, south of Rome, was a hotel used by some institution in Italy that for privacy I don't want to.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
And technically speaking, our goal is to host about 60 to 80 kids of these people that they are in Italy right now. Teach them the language. We have like a course.
The language, Italy?
Italian language.
Italian.
Sure.
Is this in Italy or in Egypt?
In Italy.
In Italy. Oh, okay.
And
You don't have to teach somebody to get a good feeling about Italy. I love Italy. I mean, I think it's a
Italy
wonderful
is a wonderful
place.
country.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're trying to have a course for about 9 months, teaching them the language
Of Italian.
of Italian language, teaching them maybe very simple handiwork that they could stand on their foot and they could be
Okay.
themselves. And in the meantime, we're trying also to connect them with the Italian community in order to understand that these people are not terrorists and they coming to Italy.
Oh, these are Copts here there.
Copts.
I
That's
see.
correct.
And is that Christian then?
That's correct.
That's Christian.
That's correct.
There's a
And
larger Christian order. Are they distinct? Yeah, we've got
Yeah,
to.
in fact,
Yeah.
I bring with me a video.
Oh, good. Yeah,
that-
by all means, yes.
Yeah,
right.
and this will show you how Christian and suffering in Egypt. The videos about, we did it, Voice of the Copt did it about maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
Or maybe later than that. But it is, whatever you are seeing in this video, it is still actually happening in Egypt right now.
Okay, well then let's run the video then. We're talking, let's read that. Okay, here we go.
We have to go back.
Okay.
Continue talking.
Just keep talking.
Keep talking.
Keep going. Okay. Well, that was really interesting. I don't know. We didn't have the studio. We didn't have the audio in here. Maybe you could explain what it was that we were viewing.
Well, technically speaking, what happened in 2001, between 2000 and 2000, there were attack against Christian in Upper Egypt, and the killing reached about 21, 22 person was in New Year Day. And
Mass, yeah.
yeah, and what happened, you could see at certain point that the late Pope Shenouda, that the Pope of Alexandria, he was in his weekly meeting with the people, and he was talking, explaining to the audience that
living as a minority under daily oppression, discrimination, and persecution from the Muslim majority in Egypt. The Coptic Pope is crying as he preaches about putting all suffering in the hand of God, when in mid-2003 the Egyptian court ruled innocent those who committed the massacre on January 1, 2001 in an Upper Egypt town called El-Kush.
ونحن في كل ما يحيطنا من متاعب إنما نطرح المشكلة أمام الله ونتركها في يديه ونقول له لتكن مشيئتك. إن أردت أن تحل المشكلة لتكن مشيئتك، وإن أردت أن نأخذ بركة صليب نحمله،
These images show just a few examples of the frequent aggression toward Copts in Egypt. In addition, kidnapping and raping of Coptic teenage girls and women occur in order to force them to embrace Islam.
وبعدين ليه بيعملوا فيا كده؟ دخلوا خربوا البيت ولعوا فيه. طبعا اللي في البيت كلهم نسوان وعيال صغيرين، جابوا لهم هرع وجابوا لهم امراض نفسيه كتيره. وبقى نطفي بايدينا بالولعه اللي زرعوها في البيت بالجاز وبالنهب والسلب وحاجات. ليه؟ ليه ده كله؟ ايه الذنب اللي احنا عملناه؟
عشان امارس عبادتي بس حرام. يا ترى هي دي بس اللي بتخليني يعني هل انا عشان ادخل اصلي في اي مكان هل حرام على ان اصلي؟ هو انا بصلي اقول ليه؟ مش بكلم ربنا وربنا يسمعني ومش يسمعني انا. احنا بنصرف ربنا ونقول له يا رب الروح دي نشوفها تاني.
في ذهني كلام كثير لأقوله، وفي قلبي كلام أكثر من هذا، ولكني أفضل أن أصمت لكي يتكلم الله. الله يسمع هذا الصمت ويدرك كل معانيه وكل ما نعانيه.
Wow. What a sad situation.
Yeah. And this is sad situation that brought to me the idea of opening La Casa Futura in Italy, and you know it is really heartbreaking. But I mean, if you would like to go and see La Casa Futura, you could go there in our website www.voiceofthecopts.org and under Casa Futura. And also, if you would like to help participating,
you could have
we have a GoFundMe, we have our PayPal account. And I mean, it is really important, not for the old people, but for the young people that they living in situation like that. They live in their homeland, but it's not their home. They living in their street, but it's not their street. They risk every day to be killed and be kidnapped and be a lot of negative things.
And again, what's the source of the anger?
I
mean, in I don't want to sound like reason, trying to understand why.
Well,
it sounds almost like the awfulness of war, or the awfulness. What is the basic? What's the story, as they would say, of what's going on?
You have two things: one to the right, one to the left.
Yeah.
One to the right say loves your enemy, and one to the left saying kill who doesn't believe in Muhammad.
Who's the one and who's the other? I mean, what
loves your enemy? Who do you think?
Now, who would that be associated with? Jesus? Would be a remote. I think most of the religious faiths, wouldn't they have that as part of their credo? I would think, and they would be against injustice and.
It's very interesting because technically you are speaking from the point of view of a Western mentality, and I am not talking about religion here. I am talking about Western mentality.
Yeah.
In the Middle East and Arabic country, there is no use to your brain. You have to see what is written in the Quran and follow it without thinking twice.
Oh, so that's what you're. Okay, go on.
So if the Quran saying any person doesn't believe in the Prophet of Allah and doesn't believe in our Allah, right, has to be killed.
Has that happened in any other religious experiences or moments of religious fervor, or that there were terrible things done in Nazi Germany, one to the other? These kind of things flare up. Or is there something genetic in a Muslim that causes them to be so barbaric? Or how do we get at the reality of it, or examples mimicking it, other examples in history or in the current situation of injustice to a maximum degree where innocent people are ruthlessly decimated?
Right. I mean, to answer your question, I could say this. Certainly in the Middle Eve and in the beginning, maybe not really in the beginning of Christianity, but at certain era of Christianity, there are people use the word Christ, the word of Christ, to go and do awful things. There is no doubt about it. But the only thing is that I I counter this, that these people, they really didn't to follow what is written in the Bible. So, I mean, I don't see any word in the Bible or any phrase in the Bible or any passage in the Bible saying going to Africa and kill all the people of Africa, or go to Germany and kill all the Jews in Germany.
What was informing the Nazis in the Second World War when they so ruthlessly attacked? So they had reasons geopolitically for being angry because the other people had defeated them and had given them suffering. But what I was trying to understand it in Western terms, or in generalized terms, for various societies around the world and so forth.
Well, from my point of view, if the Pope of Alexandria or the Pope of Rome come to me personally and give me a machine gun and tell me to go to kill somebody, I will refuse it because I tell you this is not written in my Bible.
Well, I would think anybody sane would say that, unless there's some exterminating or extenuating circumstances that have driven them to such a frenetic or frantic state of mind. That's what I'm getting at.
Or if you are part of some organization created by religion leaders to help them to reach a certain earthly power.
Well, then let's say not religious leaders, but I mean, for instance, well, maybe you could, but let's just take the word of Adolf Hitler, who believed in the Aryan superiority and God's, such as it would exist, order for them to take over the world because they were the master race. All of those kind of things have been manifest by other people other than the Muslims, no?
Well, but...
Or there were things done in the name of...
the first part that you are talking about was done by a human being.
Yeah.
The part that I am talking about, they saying that they are come from Allah. So it is a word of God for them.
Oh well, but the people who do that usually they have they've got a backup deity that will give them the prescription to go and kill in the name of the person, or people who are trying to represent them at propagandistic terms.
Let me ask you this question: where you find that Hitler used word of any holy book?
I don't know, holy book. I think he had reference to a lot of Tudor, from the Tudor past, and from phrenology, that they were measuring their head sizes and that they were a advanced people over these pagan people who were lesser people. They're lesser people. So they deserve, that kind of thing has been manifest.
But not the word of God.
I think it's happened.
But not the word of God.
Well, I don't know what's God. God is, okay, we could talk about that.
Right.
God is a all-encompassing idea of the way the universe works that a lot of people have held, and there's been various people who have various interpretations of whether there is such a thing or not, or is it just a work of evolutionary development out of a godless... I've got a good friend of mine, Howard Bloom. Do you know Howard? Would you know Howard? It's called, what is it called? The myth, no, what is it? Something, the creation of value in a godless society or so. There are a lot of people who don't believe in any God or any religion or anything that gets them on a sense of being superior to others or anything like that. Most of them will be saying, there are various, it was terrible what was exhibited. That's happened.
Well,
we've had that happen in other instances.
Do you see, you still talking to me in Western mentality. For example...
Yeah, I'm Western.
I know. In Middle East and Arabic country, being atheist, you could risk to be killed.
Okay.
Because this is what the Quran teach them. So it is not only, I mean, whatever you were saying, it is, I could understand and relate to the mentality that certainly there is people coming from nowhere like Rudolf Hitler and became whatever he is, and after that he paid for whatever he did.
Or they'd be licking wounds that they had suffered at the hands of others, and their first child had been killed by a crazy man going down the street, and they're full of rage at what had been done to them or to others. And
but this era is ended by when Hitler was killed. It's ended.
Well,
now,
in that instance, but there's probably other instances.
There is other things that
Or are people genetically born evil or something? And the people who practice a certain religion are evil? Are they made evil by material reality or by examples of things that have been delivered down to them for which they want revenge? There was a lot of that. It goes back and forth. Era one country goes and kills them, and then the people that they have killed come back and get stronger, and then they go and kill them, and it's a more universal thing, is what I'm saying.
Well, it has happened from day one. Don't forget in the Old Testament,
yes,
in the Torah, Cain and Habil, the same story that the brother killed his brother for what reason?
Yeah.
You know. But the problem that, for example, when I talk with some Muslims and they told me, well, the Jews, they will stoning the bad women, and my answer for them, I say, when's the last time that you heard about it? Maybe 2,000 years ago. You're still stoning women now because it's written in your Quran. You're still beheading people.
You seem to have a brief against Muslims. Is that it?
I am not against Muslims. No, at all.
Certain groups of Muslims.
That's correct.
Which are the groups of Muslims you have an issue with?
Well, I don't have personal issue. I am for human right, and you You cannot, how you call it? You cannot shut my mouth because you're saying that you are talking because God told you this. At this point, if your God doesn't understand that there is a human rights and there is people has to live in peace in their home, I have to come against you. So I am not against Muslim as people. I am against the teaching of Islam.
Well, what are the material realities that cause that kind of animosity between the peoples of the world? Is what I'm getting at. I would think that they're mostly being raised out of the material reality in which they live.
Well,
not some God, because a lot of people and less people think there is any God. There's no God. There's a historical process going back and forth.
It is two parts of the story. I could say the political part is some group would like to take supremacy to another group, whatever.
Yeah.
But you could compact this. Somebody lose, somebody will be killed, whatever.
It's called zero sum, and it does inform the whole human condition.
Perfect.
It's a little bit moderated by success of material benefit for people, for more and more people.
But my big problem
not ethical or just in the way it operates. It happens all the time.
Yeah, but my big problem when this certain group of people start to use the magic word, the word of Allah. Allah told me.
That's God.
That's correct.
Yeah. There may be no God. And then.
But at least I believe that if there is God, and He's the creator of the world, He was the creator of the universe, He was the creator of the human. This God doesn't need my help and your help to be protected. Because if He creates us, He doesn't need us to help Him.
I don't quite understand the logic of that. There is no God.
The logic
is just material reality, and then they put the God on top of it in order to be strong.
But say that God exists. Follow me for 1 second.
All right. Okay. Well, a lot of people do have that and need to want it, and it gives surcease to a great number of people that there is.
Right. But my concern is this. Say that God exists. I believe in God. I believe that God exists personally, but I can't force it on you. But for you, I could say, if the God exists, for me, God who is the creator of the universal, God who is creator of everything, right? So He is the more powerful identity that exists. Now, He doesn't need my help to survive.
The God you're talking about,
Right. Well. But in Islam, they kill you if you talk bad about God because their God is not able to defend himself.
Why?
You have to ask
Why?
them.
No, I ask you, why do you think that is?
Because this is the teaching.
Is it
the
the
teaching
fault
that they
of the
have.
teaching
It's
of the canons of ethics or something that
The
is
I
represented
could
by
say teaching,
Islam?
right? Teaching and doctrine.
How many of the Islamic faith are there in the world?
The
And
last
is it
no-
characteristic universally of the Islamic faith? I've known a lot of people who are very, very humanistically grand who are
I
of the
can't.
Muslim
Right. I
Muslim
can't. I
faith.
can't. In fact, for this reason, I said I am not against the Muslim himself
Oh,
because there are good people.
You're against bad acts.
That's correct.
Yeah.
You
Well,
ask me. You ask me first how many Muslim. I think that there are about 1.3 billion.
that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of them. Yes. Why are there so many ascribed to that? What do you think it is?
First of all, because they are allowing 5 wives, so you could having 5 wives, you have five times 5
Yeah.
production of
Yeah.
kids, and also I believe that the society it is not really like the Western society that everybody try to to improve himself. They just living like whatever happened without really kind of interest to improve themselves. Because in fact, if we could see Egypt back, I could say 100 or 200 years ago, and Egypt today, because of an influence of Islamists right now, Egypt went back to the stone era. 200 years ago, Egypt was a democratic country. People speak various language, and people live in harmony together. There is no hate, there is no killing, there is no anything like that.
To what do we ascribe that? That's what I'm getting at. Is it some inherent flaw in a philosophy that drives these people to such as you see them? Or is it a material reality? Is it a perceived grievances by one group against another?
At the time of the former President Sadat, he called it the revival of Islam. And that's what we are seeing now.
Uh-huh. You're seeing that now, you think.
Right.
And what does that spell for the world, in your view?
Well, it is very serious question, and the answer is really that we need to stand up and fight for our freedom and fight for our rights to say whatever we have to say, and accept. I mean, there is no doubt that always is a fight between good and bad, and I'm not trying to say who's good and bad. I am talking about the human right, basic human right.
Right.
That you have to live. And I tell you one thing, I never forget my poor father teaching me one thing very interesting when I was kid. He said, your freedom ended 5 inches away from my nose.
Right, okay. Well, I'll tell you, it's a terrible place that you talk about, and it's one that's interesting and everything. One of the problems in this business of television, we run out of time. We've run out of time, and I thank you
so much.
I
for
thank you for
inviting
coming
me.
in and
Thank you
providing
very
us with this.
Thank you.
It's Ashraf Ramelah, and he's the he's the voice of the Egyptian Christian minority and a voice of the Coptics, and an interesting take on things. And I thank you very much for sharing it with the audience.
Thank you for sharing everything.
Okay, I thank you for viewing, and we'll be coming back again next week, next time. So thank you very much again, Ashraf.
Ashraf, you pronounced it perfect.
Well, we're trying. Okay, thanks a lot.
How you like it? It's crazy, right?
You're standing up.
I'm sorry. I was thinking that
You ruined the whole.
I
Guards,